Happy Friday, folks. Hope you're doing well. It's great to have you all on one more time. There's several stories breaking this Friday. There's a couple things I shouldn't say breaking. That's a bad term to use, but there are some stories that have come to the surface on this beautiful, awesome Friday in the summer. In June, we know the kids are out of school. We know some parents are stressed that kids are out of school. Some are pumped that kids are out of school, and others are just trying to enjoy their lives and survive. We're just happy that the sun's shining and summer's looking good. But there's some things that are happening that we need to talk about. One of which being, well, our GDP has shrunk. That's not been good news. And then we'll talk about the things that are upholding our GDP and actually preventing it from going any further than it is. We'll be talking about that. We're going to get the bad news out of the way because the good news is Global Mail has decided to cover that Khalistanis and Khalistan extremists are an issue. They are actually covering the CSIS report from 2024 that was released in March of 2025 and saying, oh, shoot, Khalistan's a national security threat. We got some things to talk about. And we tweeted it out last night. And I said, well, Global Mail, welcome to the party, pal. Welcome to the Elevate Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. If you get any value from the show, feel free to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And otherwise, let's get kick-started right into the grill of this bad boy on this Friday so we can get on with our day, shall we? So as news broke, monthly change in GDP in Canada. Well, April, it shrunk again. It went up in January, and then went down in February, went up in March, down in April. And people are like, what? Why is it up? Why is it down? Well, because a lot of those problems, a lot of the reasons why those numbers went up is because of the uncertainty around tariffs. It was a lot of the pre-buying from companies trying to buy on pre-tariff prices. That's why I saw the inflation or those numbers go up. The numbers are going down is when, well, reality was setting in of where things are at with the current economy, where things are at with the tariff situation. And that's why we're seeing that reflection. If we move over here to the main industrial sectors and how it's all broken down, all industries down 0.1%. Not great. No, it's not good when your GDP is shrinking. Not good when money is starting to evaporate and leave the country when we're bringing in more and more people by the day. But if we look at the industries that are holding up the GDP, holding up the percentage right now, trying to put some upward pressure on it, you have retail, you have finance and insurance, you have real estate and rental and leasing, you have education services, healthcare and social assistance, accommodation and food services, public administration, and others. Those are what is holding and putting upward pressure on that GDP number. Now let's get down to the reality of why that stinks. First off, retail, okay, private sector, good. Another private sector, finance and insurance. Finance and insurance is typically not a good thing if that is putting upward pressure because it means things aren't going well. People are purchasing more insurance products because things are more uncertain. People are nervous. People are having more healthcare problems. People are having housing problems. People are having housing uncertainty. People are having higher car insurance premiums. When insurance is going up, it means that more money is being taken from people. It's not because that sector is doing so well. It's because, well, those companies are now charging more. So that's not a good thing for the economy, typically. Then you go down to real estate and rental and leasing. Again, our housing is artificially putting upward pressure on this when we know that our whole housing market is on a house of cards right now. So that's not good. Then we jump down to education services, healthcare and social assistance, public administration. Those are also putting upward pressure on that GDP number. Those are all happen to be public sector jobs. Jobs with the government, a lot of them are. And that's putting upward pressure. So literally there's only 3 private sector areas that are putting upward pressure on that number. 2 of which are legitimate. One is it's insurance. Really? We can talk about that? And then the others are just public sector sectors. So that means through our real estate prices, through our public sector, through our insurance prices, these are the sectors that are actually keeping that GDP number from being far lower than it is. You take those out, we're going rock bottom prices here, babies. That is where this currently leads. This is not a good thing. Our private sector is shrinking by the day, and the numbers are now showing it. And what's frustrating is when the media, when your politicians, when your friends at work or whatever try to gaslight you and saying, oh, it's all good, Mark Carney's got it great. He's got it all figured out. Well, it's not looking great at all. GDP is not looking great. The sectors that are holding up the GDP from going far lower are essentially fugazi at this point. And we don't have a vibrant and compelling private sector in this country to essentially save us from ourselves at this point. And so instead of looking at the politicians who are making poor policy, who are doing stupid things, who are making bad decisions that are leading our economy into the absolute gutter, our media decide to publish stories like this instead. Toronto Star says there's a steep rise in hate towards South Asians in Canada documented through social media posts. People are struggling to pay for their bills. People are struggling with their housing. People are struggling to get their food. People are struggling to access healthcare. People are fighting more and more people coming into the country for far fewer resources. And so we're going to make the story about South Asian hate, mainly directed at Jagmeet Singh, as they do in the opening paragraph. Canada's seen a steep rise in towards South Asians on social media in recent years, with a large spike occurring during the recent federal election, especially aimed at former NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, according to a new report. The report, titled The Rise of Anti-South Asian Hate in Canada and published by the UK-based Institute for Strategic Dialogue, used the social media monitoring tool Bandwatch to analyze posts that mention Canadian cities and regions and South Asians on X. Between May and December 2023, they found over 1,100 posts containing explicitly hateful keywords towards South Asians. During the same period in 2024, that number rose to over 16,000, an increase of more than 1,350%. And this is the story that they want to make it about: the hate towards the South Asian community. I'm not saying there isn't an issue with it, but I'm not saying that's the issue to cover right now. Our immigration numbers are through the roof, baby. Our job numbers are going to the gutter. So right now we're getting more and more people coming in the country and fewer jobs. Meaning you're having more and more people fighting for fewer jobs. You know what happens when you start limiting resources, limiting access to funds to people? They're naturally going to resolve to the lowest common denominator and point the finger at those who they feel are causing the problem. In this case, our government decided they want to immigrate thousands and thousands of people from the same part of the world, a lot of them coming from India. And so those people were brought here by our Canadian government with a promise that they'd get a job, a promise they'd get healthcare, a promise they'd be able to live their lives. And we know that those promises were flawed. Those promises were faulty, and those promises were empty. So we see a lot of our entry-level jobs, retail jobs, service sector jobs being taken by one group of people. Yes, naturally, people who can't access money, people who can't afford to live, people who are struggling to be able to afford their homes are seeing a certain group of people who are being brought in who are now getting jobs over Canadians because the government subsidizes their wages. Naturally, you're going to get people who are going to be really frustrated, and you're going to see a spike towards South Asians in hatred. I'm not condoning it, don't agree with it, but that is the human condition. That is what happens when you take things away from people and you shove it in their face that they're just racist, hateful people. Well, eventually it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? People who may not necessarily been that way, been pushed in a corner by the media, pushed in a corner by their politicians, pushed in a corner by government policy, to now feel like they have nothing left to lose. So now they're on social media saying whatever they're going to be saying. And I will stand by this, that this article makes it sound like it's the majority of Canadians, and it's not. It's a subsect of our population who are feeling very, very frustrated these days. But it's not the majority of Canadians who are espousing hatred towards Indians. As much as the media tries to push hatred, tries to push division, tries to push, and distract from the real problems at large. And the real problem is the reason we're seeing such a high rise in immigration, more than we could ever see and even handle in our country, is because it's an active push to bring in as many people as possible to suppress wages, and so that private companies can take advantage of those lower wages and get bigger margins. It's 100% a play to devalue our way of life, bring down our lifestyle levels so that big companies can come in, take advantage of the cheap labor and make more money at the end of the day. That's really what this all is. People, as I said, they'll go to the lowest common denominator. It's the race. The far left and the far right have that very much in common. They love looking at the race. That just shows you how simple people's minds really are. When you look at a higher level, really what's going on, this is a big business play. And I'll use some buzzwords for you. The likes of the left, the likes of globalists. This is how they do it. How do you increase the power and centralize power into the private industry? How do you take away power from the individual? Well, lower how much they can make. Lower how much they can afford. Force them to rely more on the system so that they are more easily controlled. But we move forward to our final story of Global Mail deciding to do their job and cover things that are actually happening that are hurting segments of our population. CSIS flags extremist Palestinian activists as national security threat. And it was interesting. I was like, okay, what's this article going to be about? Well, you can imagine they actually spent quite a bit of time trying to defend Khalistan in this article. That is the media for you in this country. Canada's spy agency is warning that a small but militant group of Sikhs are using the country as a base for promoting fundraising and planning violence in India in support of an independent homeland in Punjab, a caution some see as a sign of shifting policies towards New Delhi. In its annual report in Parliament in June, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service said these homegrown extremists represent only a small group among Sikhs who are otherwise pursuing non-violent advocacy for a state they call Khalistan. And I said it on my show last week. They keep saying there's good Khalistanis and bad Khalistanis, but they all share the same ideology, that their race is supreme, that their ideology is supreme, and they'll use force if necessary to secure their homeland. Are there good KKK members or are there bad KKK members? That's the same vibe here. I'll keep rolling back to that example every time because it's exactly what it is. But hey, here we go. Media doesn't know what they're talking about. The spy agency says the presence of Sikh extremists in Canada continues to pose a national security threat to Canada and Canadian interests. Without pointing to any specific examples, it's the first time CSIS has highlighted Khalistani extremists in its annual report since 2018. Canada is attempting to rebuild relations with India, which suffered a major rupture in September of 2023 when then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused New Delhi of a role in the killing of Canadian Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a prominent advocate for Khalistan. India has denied the allegation. Andrew Kirch, a security consultant and former intelligence officer of the CSIS, said the spy agency is signaling that the threat from Khalistan extremists is real and should be taken seriously. If they're highlighting it, it means it's become a priority item, that the threat is serious and they want to raise awareness about it. Clearly, the stuff is going on and they want the public to know about it, he said. These annual reports are important because they offer insight into how the spy agency is spending time and resources, he said. He is skeptical of the suggestion CSIS could be influenced by Indian disinformation. These kinds of threat assessments are based on a wide range of sources, as well as electronic surveillance, such as intercepts and wiretaps, all of which goes through a heavy vetting process internally, he said. Unfortunately, we can't tell people what information that threat is based on, but our intelligence service is trained to wade through disinformation. I have a high degree of confidence in their analysis, Mr. Kirch said. And so this goes back to our media apparatus in this country doesn't know what they're talking about, and quite frankly, just deciding to get on board. And I'm kind of surprised. It's good that they're touching on it. It's good that they're putting it out into the mainstream. However, the idea that, they're not that big of a deal, CSIS is just blowing it out of proportion. It's the same argument I've been getting directly from media members from the mainstream in this country who challenged me on the Khalistan issue, have challenged me on the Nijjar problem. You can't really prove he was a part of a terrorist organization. He was just a significant Khalistan member who have also engaged in terrorist acts and killed multiple people and have killed many people. And he was a part of that. And he just happened to be killed. Unfortunately, that's how it happened. The reality is the reality. And you want to tell me that, you can't really prove it. Like, get out of my face with you can't prove it. There is enough circumstantial evidence that point to that he was a leader of a terrorist organization. Point blank. Full stop. Stop protecting the man. Stop protecting Khalistan. Stop protecting extremists. It's quite frankly disgusting. And it doesn't look good on you. And when it all comes out, when the truth officially comes out 100%, because it never does come out 100%, but eventually it does, you're going to look like a fool. And this goes back to the prior article. There's been increase in hatred towards Jagmeet Singh. Maybe people were frustrated at Jagmeet Singh, not because of his race, but maybe because he held this country hostage for the sake of his pension. He held this country hostage over his extremist ideology, allegedly. He has alleged ties to the Khalistan movement. Jagmeet Singh upheld the last parliament. From what I'm reading and understanding, makes sense why, Justin Trudeau started taking the stances he did against India, because Jagmeet Singh was in the fray. Jagmeet Singh was affecting our foreign policy decisions. And with his ties to an extremist group, or alleged ties to an extremist group, it would make sense why there's such a hostile approach to India. So as I said, it's a positive that Global Mail has called this out. It's a positive. CSIS is calling it as a threat, and the fact that they're standing by that this is a serious threat that needs to be considered. We're not just making it willy-nilly over here. These are good things that we're calling out extremist groups in this country. Now it's on the backs of the people to put pressure on their political officials to make sure it's dealt with at the political level and make sure the political will is there to make sure we combat extremism and kick it out of our country in every form that it comes in. But anyways, have yourself a great Friday and enjoy your weekend. I'm out.